when you need it most. Feel the freedom of being careless, just being in love. Everything will be alright. Through the darkness, through the night, no fear anymore. No fear anymore. No fear anymore.
What is up, you guys? It is your cute and cuddly Zare Bear, accompanied by the one and only Shackles
Hello, hello.
and Roly Poly Coley.
Hello.
And we're gonna jump off into this, starting with the scores from Week 8 of the matches that were played last week. Starting with the stream matches, we had two juicy matchups to start us off with a lot of division lead implications, especially this first one, Phoenix versus Kansas City. Phoenix taking that 3-1. That looked pretty dominant from Phoenix, especially after the last week that we saw them play on stream was that um, insane sweep against Buffalo. That I think they only let in one goal from Buffalo that entire series. So Phoenix looking extremely dominant right now.
Yeah, I definitely saw a good fair bit of upset potential in this matchup. I thought Kansas City was finally getting everything together, finding those lineups that work, getting everything in gear, only to have a really strong Phoenix come out and kind of beat them back down.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate showing for Kansas City. Um, like you guys mentioned, Phoenix looked pretty in control for most of the series. I still think it could have gone to Game 5, but Kansas City just seemed a little like flustered in that series, and Phoenix was able to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I definitely think Kansas City is a strong team. Um, yeah, I still think they are like in the top half of the league for sure. Not even the top half, but like the top quarter, even. Um, Anyways, moving on to two more teams that this was just an insane showing. Portland putting up a good 3-2 win on Seattle, going all the way to Game 5. It was very stressful watching this series. Cole, as you played in it, how was that? How was
Yeah,
playing?
yeah, it was pretty stressful to play in it. To be honest. Seattle we knew going in was obviously a really good team. It was kind of nice to get revenge from when we played them early in the season. But it really just makes the entire Northwest Division so complicated with all three teams tied at 15 points. I was kind of hoping specifically not to get the Game 5 win just so there could be a leader in the division. But, I mean, it's better than having less than 15 points, I guess.
For sure, it's a three-way tie, right, for that
Yeah.
Northwest Division between Seattle, Portland, and Utah. Utah currently with the number one spot because the series record. We'll talk about their match this week a little bit later, but yeah, Portland and Seattle, that was an insanely close series to watch. If you didn't go back and watch the VOD, because that was a juicy one. That was basically what looked like a playoff match from both teams. So tied at 9 goals from both teams in 5 games. So pretty insane. Good defense from both teams. 17 saves for both teams. 31 shots for Portland and 32 shots for Seattle. So just all around, all the stats were just right next to each other. Portland just taking the win in Game 5. So good showing for them.
Yeah, I mean, in the 4 series that I've played in so far this season, this was definitely like the fastest, where they were easily able to kind of like match our pace and take control of the ball in a lot of crucial situations, and it really made things interesting.
And our the third series that we streamed last week here was the Washington versus Baltimore series, going to Game 5 as well. Washington taking that one. I don't think I watched this series, but I believe Washington outscored by 6 goals. So Indy, I believe, leading that category for that series. But yeah, good for Washington here. They're now looking towards a playoff spot in the East wild card, as they won't be able to catch Pittsburgh, but definitely good for them to get some points and get in that playoff race in the East Conference.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed just because Washington's near the bottom of that wild card uh, spot, and they need every point they could get. And we've talked about, how Baltimore has really struggled throughout the season. I thought that it would be more than reasonable to say that Washington was going to be able to get the full 3 points out of this matchup, but they just weren't able to play like a really good team that series. It was disappointing to watch.
Yeah, Washington looked dominant almost the entire time that series was going on, and you would have expected them to have closed it out sooner, honestly, from what you were seeing on the stream. But then they'd have one little hiccup, and they'd let Baltimore right back in, and Baltimore was able to take it to Game 5. Washington, I think they really needed that 1 point, that one extra point to further solidify themselves in the wild card race and possibly try to compete with Pittsburgh. Um, so I don't think Washington performed up to their standards, even with how dominant they looked that day. Um, but I think Indy was um, showing some good stuff on that field for Washington.
Definitely, he was definitely the standout player in that series. Definitely left his mark on the field in a positive way.
For sure, and he snuck his way into our into some of our lists this week. So that was obviously he made an impact on the field. Just pulling up his stats, he scored 8 goals in that 5-game series with 4 assists. So quite a lot of goal participation, the most on his team by quite a lot actually. 4 points past both Chinny and Ziff, but still just a all-around good player, I think. Moving on to the New York and Buffalo series. This was the last one we streamed last week. I don't want to say I called this, but I totally called this. I said if Tremulous plays for Buffalo, then it would go to Game 5. Otherwise, I said that New York would just take the full 3 points, and Tremulous played, and they went to Game 5. So
Yeah, I mean, you were spot on. I was kind of disappointed, to be honest, because even with Tremulous playing, I didn't think it was gonna necessarily be that competitive. especially with some of the hopes that we've had for New York, especially at the beginning of the season when they looked particularly dominant. But again, they just keep showing us that they're not the top team that we once thought that they were. Even with Tremulous playing, who's an outstanding player, that alone should not be enough to take out this pretty powerful New York roster.
Yeah, I was a little surprised with the roster that New York fielded. I would have thought you would want to see your team get a full 3 points here, especially on a Buffalo team that hasn't looked exceptionally strong throughout this season. And New York slipped up a little bit, and they lost a point because of that. So uh, it's difficult because they looked strong to start the season, and now they're just kind of puttering to the finish line, hoping to hold on to that division lead. And I don't know. I guess I would just like to see stronger lineups get played when you don't need to play um, other people on your team. No offense to the people that might not be in that top lineup, but New York's got to try to hang on to that division lead.
Yeah, that's really going to come down to Week 10 when they play Philadelphia again. So interesting matchup to look out for.
For sure. And actually looking at it, I think Samps is a player that we know as being one of the top players on that team, and he hasn't played since their loss against Kansas City back a few weeks ago. So I'm not sure where he's been, but I would definitely like to see him out on the field, especially this week against Philadelphia. They've got a tough matchup this week, so I'd like to see that top New York lineup come out as well. But yeah, for sure, I still think Tremulous put on a good show in this series. I think I've said it before, but he seems to be the hard to carry on that team. I think he had like 5 goals per series before last week, where the rest of his team had 1 goal per series, and he still scored 4 in the series against New York. So I think for sure he is the big impact on that team. They did only score 7 goals in that whole series, and he had 4 of them. So that just goes to show. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and move on to some of these non-streamed matches. Starting with Chicago-Detroit. Chicago gained the full 3 points off of Detroit. Makes it kind of look like the the Great Lakes? Yeah, the Great Lakes division will come down to this week on how Chicago and Ottawa goes. I believe, is that this week? Chicago and Ottawa.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's looking like that division's going to come down to who wins. If Chicago drops out of the division lead, Ottawa's going to have to win that game. Or if Detroit's going to be able to come up, Ottawa still needs to win that game for them. So basically, it's Chicago's place to lose now, as they got the full 3 points off of Detroit there. Speaking of Ottawa gained the full 3 points off of Montreal in a clean sweep. Shaq, I believe you played in that series, right?
I did play in that series.
And how did that go?
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't have to do a whole lot. Sheriff is one hell of a player, and he was flying all over the field. And basically all I had to do that game was just get good 50s and keep the ball out of the net. I mean, if you don't have to work too hard to do anything, if you got somebody who's popping off on your team, I mean, there's no reason to try to sweat it, But it's unfortunate for Montreal because they've taken a lot of good teams to Game 5, so I was hoping to see a better series than a sweep, but it was good for our team getting full 3 points.
More on that point, you broke their 4-game streak of Game 5 losses I mean, to good teams because you got Chicago, Portland, and Utah. And I mean, just either looking at our power rankings or looking just off of points, like those are three of the top teams, and you just somehow take them to Game 5 every time. And then not Ottawa. Ottawa found a way to end it.
Yeah, for sure. Montreal has had a tough schedule this season, I think. So good on them to be taking all those stronger teams to Game 5. But last week, I mean, was not the week for them, I guess. So good for Ottawa taking the full 3 points, put them in that playoff race for the East Conference. Speaking of the East Conference in that playoff race, Philly taking a hard upset loss to New England in Game 5. Philly was a team that we were talking about a lot, talking good about a lot. Being up there on our power rankings pretty much every week. So this was a big upset here, losing in Game 5.
Yeah, I am very disappointed with how this Philadelphia team is shaking out. I mean, at one point we had them third on our power rankings list, and then they just start losing to uh, teams that they shouldn't be losing to, like Santa Fe, and then Denver, and now New England. Like we were pretty high on this Philadelphia team, taking it pretty far, maybe even snagging the division away from New York after New York's crazy early season lead. But they just collapsed, and I don't know what's happened. Like there's not really been any roster changes, or they're not playing exceptional teams. They just aren't winning.
I don't want to say that Philly has gotten lazy, but I almost wonder if maybe subconsciously there's been this mentality with Philly that they've seen New York, who they've been trying to hunt down to get in front of them. They've seen them losing matches, so they've maybe become a little more complacent than they otherwise would be. And now they finally lost a series the same week that New York got back on track, winning series, right? And I think now Philly's gonna wake up and they're probably gonna win this week, and then they're gonna take it to New York in the final week of the season.
Yeah, I mean, if New York wins this next week, then they'll clinch their division. So Philadelphia's kind of dropped the ball, dropped the ball there.
Well, I think let's see, New York, if they win this week, and then if Philly wins this week as well, and then Philly beats New York, Philly can take the division title actually. So Philly's got to literally win out, and New York has to New York. If New York beats Philly, then they clinch it in
Well,
week 10.
New York doesn't even have to beat Philly. If they take Philly to a Game 5 loss, then they still would clinch it. Because I would put New York at 19 points and Philly at 18.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. So New York just has to take it to Game 5 against Philly, and they'll clinch the division title. You're right. Yeah.
And that's assuming Philadelphia gets 3 points this week, which
Yeah.
just based off of what
Which
we've seen, like
exactly.
that's not a
Yeah.
for sure at this point.
Yeah. Yep. Especially with Buffalo taking New York to Game 5, so we'll see. Anyways, moving on, we're gonna go to the South Division. This division is an absolute mess. This is a little more reassuring. Miami swept Carolina this last week, but and the fact that Miami beat Carolina before, so they did it again, which is nice.
Just some consistency.
Yeah, seeing any consistency from this division is reassuring. But big win for Miami, put them back in the race for that division. It is like I said, this division is a disaster. This division has got 2 points in between first and third. So anyone's game still there. Unfortunately, Carolina with this loss have been eliminated in that playoff race. So we'll see if they can upset some teams in the last couple weeks, though, and try to drag them out of playoffs with them. But they have given a good season. They've taken down some good teams. Mexico City and I believe Nashville are the two teams they've taken down.
Yes.
So two division leading teams right now are their two wins. So, like I said, inconsistency, but definitely a good showing from them.
Yeah, because I mean, it was one of those things like week 2 when they beat like not just Mexico City, but they beat the Mexico City that won the whole thing last season. So that win was huge. We're like, okay. Despite their loss week 1, Carolina might be a really good team, but we just never saw it. Even to now, we're just it's like I don't know what this team is, but it how Mexico City lost to them is mind-boggling.
Yeah, I would have to go back and check, but the lineup that they beat from Mexico City was Vandy, Fluffy, Eagle, and someone else.
I believe
But
that's probably right. Yeah.
yeah, but still, like this was Mexico City was literally undefeated until then as a franchise, or not as a franchise, but as their Noodle Cup series because last season was their inaugural season and they went undefeated and were undefeated the first week. It was Icon who is still on the team, so
Yeah.
um, but for sure, like good showing from Carolina, but unfortunate for them to take a early leave afterwards out of playoffs. So um, sucks, but good for the South Division to see some consistency um, coming out and another consistent series from the South Division was Nashville sweeping Atlanta. This the first time they met, Nashville did sweep Atlanta again, but that was back when Manny and myself were on the team. So I was looking. I did watch that series to see how it would go. I think I actually bootlegged it. I'm not sure, but um, I know for sure that Atlanta did play a Mac player, um, and two of their bottom three, I believe. I think they played Boots and T Dog, I want to say, or Ghost Touch. I think it was Ghost Touch. Um, but yeah, still either way, good to see Nashville taking the sweep again. Again, more consistency from the South Division is always nice to see.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't know what like their scheduling conflicts were or anything, but the fact that Atlanta played such a non-ideal roster with this late into the season where they're really competitive with Nashville for that top spot in the division, only to just like drop the ball, play like a roster that has virtually no chance of even taking a game off of Nashville. It's just, I'm just confused on what happened.
100%, and they actually had the division lead before that series, so um, with 11 points and Nashville being at 10 before that, so um, you do wonder what is going on the and behind the scenes there in Atlanta, but could spell trouble for their playoff run, for their run to make it into playoffs. I mean, um, for good for Nashville though to get the 3 points. We're gonna move to the Metropolitan Division here, Pittsburgh and Cleveland. I think this one was pretty expected. Pittsburgh taking a 3-1 win on Cleveland, who they have opposite records now. Pittsburgh at 6-2 and Cleveland at 2-6.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what it is.
Yeah,
It,
so yeah,
I don't know. We're just watching Pitt start to clean up a little bit. I mean, having having already uh, clinched playoffs, you know, not surprising. This Pittsburgh team's been pretty strong all season, despite some bumps in the road. But uh, I don't see why we would see Pittsburgh lose a game that they're not supposed to at this point.
Yeah, one more. I think even just 1 point for Pittsburgh, and they clinched the division. Washington can't catch up to them at that point. So I would be surprised to see Pittsburgh slip up now. I don't think we expected Cleveland to win. We expected them to put up a fight, in which they did. They got a game off of them, but Pittsburgh's looking as dominant as they should, and yeah, there's not really a whole lot to be said about that match.
Yep.
The next match here, we jump back to the Northwest Division. Another Game 5 for a Northwest Division matchup. This one a little, well, I guess not a little, but a lot more surprising. Las Vegas taking Utah to Game 5, and Latte wasn't even playing, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a whole lot of deja vu because last time they played each other, Utah won in the Game 5. So how Utah has managed this is kind of disappointing because it really damages their otherwise fairly impressive resume, especially in the Northwest Division. You have to figure if they don't Game 5 one of them, they'd be number 1 in the division currently. But they just keep dropping some of these Game 5 wins that is costing them points. Even though they have a one game better record than Portland and Seattle, they're at the same amount of points just because of these types of Game 5s that Utah just seems prone to have.
Yeah, a thing that was even more surprising about this series was not just the numbers, but the games that Las Vegas won were all only 1-goal games, I believe. And then even the total numbers after the fact, the whole series, I think Utah outscored Las Vegas by 12 goals throughout the whole series, and it was still a Game 5. Like something doesn't add up there. How wasn't Utah able to close that series out sooner?
Yeah, because my first thought was, okay, I'm assuming Las Vegas played their top and Utah probably played their bottom, and then I looked and that was not the case, and it just added to my shock. I just wish I knew like what was happening like with comms and stuff, if something like just collapsed like mentally or what. But Las Vegas playing definitely not their top roster, coming out with the win for Game 5. Surprising.
For sure, and I actually went back and looked. None of the same 3 players that played the first time played this match. So of the remaining roster, it was Latte and Executor that played, and now it's this last week it was K9, Lone Wolf, and Abdulian. So yeah, I almost wonder if Utah just put up a bunch of goals in one game and then the next game just couldn't score, and it was close, like 2-1 or something like that. But definitely disappointing, I think, seeing that inconsistent Utah that we always talked about in that series. This next matchup, Denver and Santa Fe. Denver, both of these teams taking down some impressive teams the last few weeks. In Phoenix, in Philly and New York. So, I guess I did expect this one to be close. Denver taking the win in Game 5. Yeah, I don't know. Not much more I have to say about that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Denver now taking both series. Yeah, both teams are just kind of like those upset teams, where you sleep on them and they beat you. But unfortunately, I think both team or either team's going to need a miracle to come close to the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, I gotta say it right now, because we didn't get to do our show last week. Santa Fe are officially my Titan killers for this season. They've beaten only good teams. It's unfortunate for them though, because after beating those teams, even though we expected this to be a close matchup, you'd think maybe they would be able to beat Denver. I mean, I know Zara and we know Luke, who's on Denver, and we know he's really good. He's really he's a very nutty player, but it's unfortunate for Santa Fe. But Denver does have a very slight chance to still compete for a wild card spot, but that they'd have to have a lot of stuff go in their favor. So it's out of their control for the most part. But they got to keep on. They have to get 3 points out of both of their next matchups to have any chance.
which is going to be extremely tough because their next 2 weeks are Phoenix and Kansas City. So, and same for Santa Fe. They've got Phoenix and Kansas City ahead of them. So, both of these teams, obviously, we've seen them take down Titans, but this is definitely where it counts the most. This is these last 2 weeks against Phoenix and Kansas City for Denver to see if they can finish the Titan killing.
Yeah, I mean, because of just how tight the Western Conference is at this point, like a lot of the teams that are currently above Denver, like all play each other. So like even if they drop points, that means they're giving points to someone else who's also above Denver. So it would need to be some super crazy nightmare scenario for like every team other than Denver for them to sneak it in.
This next matchup, Dallas versus New Orleans. I think this one was pretty expected. Good sweep though from them. The last time they um, played against each other, New Orleans took a game off of Dallas, so um, getting the 3-0 probably helps their game win percentage, and puts them up in the fight for that wild card spot. They're currently the first wild card um, team, so first of all the teams that are at 15 points. They have the highest game win percentage. So definitely a crucial sweep for them against New Orleans.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this Dallas lineup, the one that they played, it was what I identified as the top earlier in the season when I ambitiously put them at number one. Uh, they've kind of let me down since, like maybe Mexico City and San Antonio lost, like not the end of the world, but both of them combined with the Nashville loss is just starting to add up a lot of points that you're losing, and it's kind of disappointing for them to not meet my expectations in a way.
Well, for Dallas, this match and the one last week, this almost seems like a slight return to form from like somewhat of what we saw at the beginning of the season, because I think they've now jumped over San Antonio, just barely, and um, they did take advantage of a situation for New Orleans during that matchup. I believe they might have played a Mac player. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't investigate it too thoroughly, but I know on the reported lineups, um, they do have two B players, and Sanity is not on the roster, so I assume it was a Mac player. So Dallas took advantage of a weekend in New Orleans uh, lineup, and they dominated them.
Yeah, even though Dallas played their top here, I feel like it's kind of a mistake because at this point, the player that they acquired near the end of the season, Zia, being their D spot, still needs to play 2 more weeks to meet compliance. And having there only being 2 series left in the season, that means he's gonna have to play both. And I mean, surely, New Orleans is not the one team out of your next three that you would want to play your top against. So it'll be interesting to see what rosters they play in the next 2 weeks to try and maintain W's while meeting compliance.
Yeah, I think Dallas is probably one of my favorite teams in all of NCS, just because of in my opinion they've been consistent throughout the season, beating I think they've beaten teams that they should and then lost to teams that I thought was stronger than them. Um, maybe you could say Nashville was an upset there, but um, I still I still thought that Nashville would beat them. I think it's gonna be it's gonna be rough. I think they beat some weaker teams. A weak Miami. They've beaten a couple weak South Division teams. I think they beat Atlanta with their bottom lineup or a Mac player was playing, something like that. Um, so um, definitely, I think my favorite as far as consistency. They've beaten all the teams that I thought they should beat, um, and then I think they lost to stronger opponents. So not too big of upsets on their part, but I do think that I don't think they will win another series for the rest of the season. They've got Mexico City and San Antonio as their last 2 weeks, so I think it's gonna be tough for them. But um, I don't see it going in their favor.
Yeah, speaking of some of these other teams, Mexico City and San Antonio, Mexico City winning in 5. This was surprising to me. I thought San Antonio had finally, not to say peaked, but like finally started reaching that potential that we've been waiting for, like since the preseason, and then they lose. It was surprising. I thought even though Mexico City's proven to be a good team, despite their changes, that uh, San Antonio would take this.
I I agree. I think San Antonio was looking strong, but I'm gonna revisit the same thing I've been saying for a few weeks now. Whatever Mexico City is doing over there with their franchise, like how they go about handling players and uh, their uh, training together, it seems to be working for them very well. I think it's unfortunate that Mexico City has had as many game fives as they have right now, and I think the only other winning team that has as many game fives is Utah, but at least Mexico City has won all of their game fives. But yeah, it's unfortunate for San Antonio because as strong as we thought they were looking, apparently Mexico City is still stronger. No matter how many game fives they go to, they're still a stronger team than most everyone else.
Yeah, I agree. I think whatever they're doing, they're closing out series when it matters, and they're winning the games that count. So um, I am looking out for this Mexico City team. I think they could be a sleeper for sure. Obviously, they are third in their conference with 16 points, but I think they are better than what the fact that they've gone to game fives and won them. I think says more than their points does. Next series was a bit of an upset. San Diego taking Maui in 5 games. Um, this is Maui we thought was making the comeback after a roster move or two or whatever it was, and taking down San Francisco that 1 week in a sweep, and have just won so many games. Got a reverse sweep off Pittsburgh. They've just been on the climb, and then this happened. San Diego has just been a huge question mark for us since the whole roster moves there, and I'm not too sure what happened here. I know Lion was not on the field for Maui, so Lion and Bacon were on the bench for this one, but still, I think this was a big upset.
Yeah, I mean, to the question mark that we had before this series just made us, take a marker and circle it about 5 times. So it really makes things even more complicated than they already were in the West Conference, and it's just getting worse.
Yeah, I almost wonder if Maui slept on San Diego a little bit because although San Diego hasn't proven that this new roster is as dominant as the roster that started the season, I think San Diego looked at Maui and thought, we can beat them. We're gonna go at them with everything we have, everything that we're capable of, and we're gonna compete for a wild card spot. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think San Francisco might be out of reach for them. Maybe. No. I am mistaken. They are not out of reach just yet. But um, yeah, San Diego just decided to wake up finally and took it to a good team that probably wasn't expecting them to take it to them.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was an upset, and I think you're right. I think it might have been just a little underestimation and team popping off and throwing everything they got, um, and put San Diego back with more question marks, I think. Um, but yeah, more more consistency would be nice. And speaking of which, San Francisco taking a sweep on Los Angeles. San Francisco currently sitting at number 2 in the conference, and Los Angeles at the bottom of the conference. So I think this was expected for sure. Nice to see consistency again. Less question marks that we have to draw over teams.
Yeah, I mean, if Lag would have somehow upset San Francisco, I would have just probably thrown in the towel on making a list because I would have no idea where anyone would belong. It's just some basis is nice to have at least.
Um, yeah, I agree. I think San Francisco's probably one of those teams where it's like, okay, so if they're this good, then we can compare everyone else to them as long as they don't mess something up along the way, and then we have to question everything we think we know. But yeah, San Francisco, they dropped tons of stats on Los Angeles. Unfortunate, probably a little demoralizing for Los Angeles, but it's near the end of the season. I don't think Los Angeles had much of a chance of getting into any sort of playoff positioning, especially in that super competitive Western Conference. So, yeah.
Well, I guess moving on, there was only one transaction, I believe, this week. Far Out being removed from Buffalo, and Shadow Dragon being promoted to captain. So that was all for transactions, and I guess also Zona pick up for Ottawa. I forgot about Battleship ranking out, and also Luigi being picked up by Atlanta after Enter Wild ranking out. So I think that's all from this week.
Probably about it. There's not going to be
Yeah.
many roster moves anymore unless people hit that super high threshold. It's starting to
Yeah,
slow down.
that was all of them. So um, yeah, roster lock. So yeah, not expected, but still 3. So more than I thought. But yeah. Anyways, gonna go ahead and reveal our power rankings list for this week. I think our lists are starting to come together as a team on the Noodle Cup Series Power Rankings team. We've got a lot of people voting for the same teams. We've got a pretty good consensus of who our top 4 or 5 are across all of us. I do think San Francisco deserves this number 1 spot. We talked about them a little bit, but they're like Mexico City in that they've closed out every Game 5 they've gone to. They've got 4 Game 5 wins and seven series wins total. So that just puts them 1 point above Mexico City, and that they were able to close the series out before Game 5. So yeah, I think they definitely deserve this spot, sitting at 7-1 in series record, and just a reputation with all of us, and a dominant win that they should have had. So consistency as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think between all of us, except for maybe one, we had our top two, San Francisco or Phoenix, in one order or another. I definitely think San Francisco deserves a spot over Phoenix, just because they only having their one loss to Maui, who's maybe not as strong of a team as we hoped like a week or two ago, but they're still a pretty solid team. So that loss, in terms of a lot of losses that these other teams have had, like Pitt and Phoenix, is definitely probably the least painful loss.
There's a trend that I'm noticing is that a lot of our top 4, maybe top 5 teams, they're all about the same teams across every list, and common the common picks at the 1 and 2 positions were both San Francisco and Phoenix, and because of how highly San Francisco has been rated, and I might have been at fault for maybe Phoenix not being higher above San Francisco, but San Francisco has definitely proven they're a strong, mostly consistent team. Maybe one surprise game off of them, but very deserving of being up there.
Yeah, for sure. Number 2, being Phoenix, definitely in that contention for number 1, beating a pretty good Kansas City team that we've seen, really overcome a lot of that adversity that we've talked about in the past. But Phoenix is in a really good spot to ride out to the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think you know, uh, I don't know. Actually, I was gonna say why I put Phoenix at number 1 on my spot on my list. But actually, I think it's just been their dominance in the last few weeks. But I was gonna talk about how for me they have the best projected record. And I have them really tied actually with San Francisco, Mexico City, and Pittsburgh. So I don't know. I guess I probably should have. If I remade my list right now, I probably would have San Francisco at number 1 just because they are currently 7-1. Whereas Phoenix are 6-2. I think Phoenix is leading the conference though.
Yeah. Well, that comes from a fun fact. They're the only team in NCS right now to not have a Game 5.
Oh
So
wow.
it's interesting. I feel like that would really help them, but the fact that they've lost the games that they've lost to Santa Fe in 3, and then New York in 3, like those losses would look better if they were in 5, but the fact that they were sweeps really hurts how Phoenix is looking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing that always catches me off guard every time I look at the Phoenix results from throughout the season is how many sweeps that they have had, because I think they're still the team with the least amount of games played. So, like sweeps either wins or losses, and then I was happy that they didn't sweep last week because I did predict that they were gonna have their first non-sweep in a while. I think since week 1 versus Kansas City, but Phoenix is a very dominant, difficult team to play against, and very deserving of a number 2 or number 1 on our list.
Yeah, for sure. The argument could also be made for probably Pittsburgh to join those top 2, but I think particularly after the loss to Santa Fe, that kind of sets them up to be like in their own little bubble at 1 and 2. But considering it was only a Game 5, it's pretty understandable that Pittsburgh deserves up at the top.
Yeah, I think for me it's just been their inconsistency. I think I just missed what you said. Did you say that their only losses have been in Game 5? Because I was about to point that out.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
To
So,
Maui and San Francisco.
yeah. So good, good, um, good record. Honestly, just the fact that they get points even off all of their losses, or both of their losses, I guess in this case, but um, is why they are number one in the league with 19 points right now. So um, they have gone to game 5 against someone else they beat in game 5. I'm not sure, and lost a point off of that, but
Uh,
um,
San Diego is that?
San Diego, gotcha. And that was their newer lineup, right?
Yeah, that was 3 weeks ago.
So a little bit of inconsistency, but at the same time, like, we just saw San Diego beat Maui, um, who reverse swept Pittsburgh. So um, not too um, much of an upset anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult to put Pittsburgh above like San Francisco because they did lose to them, and there hasn't really been a lot of crazy results for Pittsburgh or San Francisco since then. And it's also difficult to compare them, Pittsburgh, to the other teams in the Western Conference. So when after we get our 1 and 2 in there in San Francisco and Phoenix, it's hard to pick against the what seems like the standout team of the Eastern Conference. I mean, leading the conference for so long now. Pittsburgh's probably right about where they should be.
Yeah,
For sure, I think this is a team that's gonna go far in playoffs, as they've already clinched their playoff spot. But I think they will be an Eastern an Eastern Conference winner. I think if they don't win the Eastern Conference, they will be in that Eastern Conference Finals for sure. I think they could be that strongest team in the East that comes out of the Eastern Conference for the championship.
Yeah, because just looking at the top of the East, it's hard to see who could put up a good fight. Because I don't think Nashville can do it. Philadelphia, with how they've kind of fallen off, I don't think they're going to be the team to challenge them. New York has been shaky. I'm still not sure where they're at. So I'd say probably the best challenger to Pittsburgh at this point is probably Chicago, even though we've seen some off and on from them too. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even look at the other teams that are currently in that race. I think as of right now, if all of those teams were to get shoved into playoffs right now, I think I would definitely pick Pittsburgh to come out of that. I think they are the strongest team right now in the East. And until I see some upset or something, that I will have Pittsburgh at the top of the Eastern Conference. Our number 4 spot goes to Mexico City, who is currently 7-1 with those game 5 wins that we talked about earlier. I think for the amount of games that they've played, I think they haven't scored a lot of goals, in my opinion. They've played 36 games and they have 95 goals. I think this team just is good at winning games. I think they just win by as much as they have to every time. So I think they deserve this spot. 7-1 for sure. Taking down a Titan in San Antonio. Like we said, we thought they got their roster back together, but still fell to this team. So I think they deserve this spot for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where maybe we've kind of been uh, uh, underestimating them, and they've just been slowly playing catch up ever since their huge roster shuffle. But I mean, at this point, they're other than maybe their Dallas game, it's gonna be hard for them to continue to prove themselves, other than just making and then playing well in playoffs.
You know, I was looking just now at, I don't know why I didn't think of this before when I was doing my list, but it looks like the thing that's keeping Mexico City where they're at is while they're maybe not putting up the most goals for how many games that they played, it looks like it's their saves. I mean, for a winning team, they have a lot of saves. I think they're ranked number 7 in the entire league as a team in total saves, and that just seems crazy to me. That's probably what's gotten them to 7-1. Why they have so many Game 5 wins? They're just able to shut down so many attacks.
I think another thing to say is that maybe they're a little more passive, or don't, or they look to make plays when they're on offense. I don't remember what the matchup was when we watched them on stream a couple weeks ago. I think it was it Dallas?
I think so, yeah.
When we watched them on stream, it didn't look like dominant from Mexico City. It looked like they just did, or no, I think it was Atlanta, wasn't it? I think
It
it was
was Atlanta.
Yeah, so um, they didn't look dominant, but they looked like a team. And the only thing that I didn't see much of was, given they are playing at Atlanta, who is known for just being an all-out offense and not playing much defense. But there wasn't a lot of midfield pressure from either team. It just seemed like it was just shots and saves, or shots and goals. There was no like ping pong or midfield play really much at all. It was just someone made an offense and then it was a counterattack offense the other way. There wasn't a lot of pressure being held on either side. And moving on, our number 5, and our second team from the East Conference, Chicago, currently 6-2, I believe. Yes, they are, leading their Great Lakes division at 16 points, with a 5-point lead over Ottawa and Detroit. So I think they have definitely separated themselves from the rest of their division currently, but they've got to hold it for the rest of the season. I think they might be able to, but obviously there is that small chance that they don't. But like I said, I think they will. But they haven't had any like too big of upsets. Obviously, they had that big upset loss to Las Vegas. But I also think that was part of Chicago playing down, just expecting to win, and Las Vegas throwing everything they had at them and catching them off guard.
I think the Las Vegas series that dropped them on our rankings last week, which we didn't get to reveal unfortunately on stream, but beating a decent Detroit team in week 8 definitely moved them back up on all of our lists. So good for them. They're like I can see what you're saying with Chicago's likely not to lose the division. Though I hope they do. Just kidding. But yeah, they do have a pretty strong hold on the division up there, and I mean 6-2. They beat good teams throughout the season, so yeah, a really good spot for Chicago.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think that's what puts them up here, is that they've beaten all these good teams, and like Utah, Seattle, and Portland. I believe they beat all 3 of them, and then the only team they lose to in the Northwest is Las Vegas. So, it's gotta balance out a little bit. Beating 3 of the top teams in the league. All 3 of those teams staying at 15 points, but losing to that 6-point team, like you said, dropped them on our list last week. But bouncing back this week, so good for them. and I think they deserve it for now. And we will see how they fare against Ottawa this week and Detroit next week. Could spill blood for them for that division lead. And speaking of those teams they beat in the Northwest Division, Utah is next at number 6 on our list. This is that super strong team with depth that just seems to be a little inconsistent at times. Second most game fives, tied with, or well, I guess first most, just tied with Mexico City at 5 game fives, but only winning 4 of them. They lost, I believe, to, I don't remember, Seattle, maybe? No, they beat Seattle, so I don't remember. Chicago, duh. I'm actually so dumb. But yeah, I think this is definitely my next top team. I think Utah will, in my opinion, I have Utah winning this, winning the Northwest Division this season. I have them winning out against Seattle and Portland. It's going to be tough, especially more tough than that Las Vegas matchup that went to Game 5. So we'll see if they bounce back after that.
Yeah, Utah's kind of in that same area as Mexico City, like you mentioned, with the Game 5 count. And again, if they lost to, since they lost to Chicago, being right below them probably isn't terrible, but they are tied with 2 other teams in their division, so they're going to end up being in the bottom half of the list because of that. But Utah's still a very good team. I'm interested to see how the divisions are going to play out by the end of the season. Honestly, I think it's going to be entertaining.
For sure, I think that Northwest Division all being tied is going to be some drama to watch in the last couple of weeks. Portland, Seattle, we project to have that easy win on Las Vegas, but even Utah dropped 2 games, and obviously Chicago gained that upset loss to them. So anything could happen. Las Vegas could spill blood to ruin someone's playoff hopes. But yeah, moving on to Phoenix's division rival. Phoenix we have at number 2, but Kansas City number 7. They just lost to Phoenix this last week on stream 3-1. We talked about that earlier, but I think Kansas City definitely, if I think Phoenix and Kansas City, that whoever won that matchup was going to be in the talk for top 5, and even top 3 maybe. But Kansas City able to stay in the top 10 even after that loss. I think that just goes to show how strong Phoenix is, that losing to them 3-1 doesn't put them out of the top 5. So I think they still are a strong team, and I think they could take any team on a bad day easily. I do want to see them at full strength again to give us a close match for when in the next couple of weeks. For I want to see them in playoffs. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. If they can take down Denver and Santa Fe and secure a wild card spot for the West.
Yeah, you know what I noticed is we had Kansas City last week at number 6 on our list, and even after losing to Phoenix, they only dropped 1 spot, and I think that says how we feel about Kansas City a lot. And also in that, even with losing a match, and not even a Game 5 match, right? So they didn't even get any points off of it. Going head to head again, having 2 higher rated teams on our power rankings playing each other, even if you lose, you're not going to drop down. And I believe we have Kansas City in our top 10 on all of our individual lists as well. So Kansas City's in a pretty good spot right now, but they do need to win out.
For sure, they are in that Western Conference wild card race. 7 teams tied it at 15 points. So they could. It is possible for them to take the division lead off of Phoenix, but not likely, as Phoenix will more projected to beat Denver and Santa Fe. So we will see though, because Phoenix is that getting swept by Santa Fe earlier in the season, but I don't think it'll happen. I think Kansas City will need to win out and take a wild card spot, and I think they will, and I think that's why they deserve this number 7 spot. And yeah, another team that I have winning out here is Maui. This is a team that we talked about coming back on the up and up. Obviously, they had a rough week this last week against San Diego, but they still made the top 10 for us. I think a couple of us after that loss, they dropped down. Actually, just you, Shaq. You want to talk about Maui dropping out of your top 10?
Well, the reason they dropped out of my top 10 was because they did lose to a team that I don't hate me for it. I did remove San Diego from my power rankings last week. And although Maui has been looking good, I really don't like the fact that they lost to a team that hasn't looked very competitive since the roster shuffle that they had. So they're still on my list in another spot, but I didn't feel like they earned the top 10 spot from me.
Yeah, I just went back and looked at my list from last week as well. I actually had I had Maui sitting it in my number 2 spot overall. So them losing to a team that, again, I didn't have San Diego on my list last week either. So that loss is that was a big upset for me as well. Maui was sitting at number 3 overall for our list last week, and San Diego was seen at number 17, number 18. So definitely a big upset, and dropping from 3 to 5 or 3 to 8. I mean, dropping 5 spots, I think is it's more generous than it is a bad thing for them, I think. But we'll see. They've got a tough matchup against our number 1, San Francisco, so they've got to make the upset. Well, I guess not an upset, but repeat it, because they did it already once. So we'll see if they can do it again and spill blood for San Francisco again.
Yeah, and if they win that series with a full 3 points, they can take the division lead. But a game 5, either result, they're still going to have to chase down San Francisco.
And that just shows how close these teams are. Even with San Francisco at number 1, and even with 7 spots between these two teams, just this one series this week could flip them, honestly. Maui will be at 18 points, so with the division lead. So yeah. Next on our list, we have number 9, San Antonio, who took a Game 5 loss to Mexico City this last week. I think San Antonio was making a run back up in our list last week. They were sitting at number 5. So I did drop quite a bit, losing to Mexico City, who was our number 9. So they almost switched spots. Mexico City just sitting at 4 now. I think that's just due to their 7-1 record. And winning twice against San Antonio in Game 5 is good for them, especially with now having the division lead.
The bad thing for San Antonio was they were looking really good, and I think we expected them to probably beat Mexico City last week, but because of that loss, they ended up falling down a little bit. Like they're still a strong team, um, but it's just where's that little extra, you know? Where's you need to beat the really good teams in order to stay high up on the power rankings list, and they just can't quite do it, even as dominant as they've been.
I agree. Yep. And I think that's what keeps them on our list is that they still look strong, but the reason they're at the bottom is because they haven't beaten those top teams. So um, I do um, I do think they need that extra upset of taking down, or that extra yeah, yep. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but just beating a team that has high reputation
Yeah.
to increase their reputation. So um, yeah,
Another thing that didn't help them was they did also have another game 5 against the very first series that they played against Mexico City was a game 5. So you would have expected, with how much course correction they've done and how good they were looking, how could they have possibly lost Mexico City again? I mean, Mexico City's lost players since they played them, and yeah, 9 deserving, but I'd say they're lucky that they lost to Mexico City and not some other team.
for sure, I agree 100%. I think this was the week that we expected San Antonio to prove that they've turned it around, because Mexico City, they've been both moving in opposite directions. As we thought, at least we thought Mexico City was uh was going to be dropping down because of the loss of their strong players, and San Antonio's been grabbing strong players and moving up. So we thought that was going to be the week, but I guess not. So we're going to need to see more from San Antonio, I think, in the next couple weeks, just beating Dallas and New Orleans to stay in that playoff contention, and we'll see what they do in playoffs, I guess. If they can take down the good teams when it comes to that.
Mm.
And Portland, our number 10 spot, with a big win against Seattle this last week on stream in Game 5. Now it puts them at 15 points in that 7-way tie in the West Conference. So they're going to have to win out against Las Vegas and Utah. So if they want to take the division and get in a playoff spot. So Utah we have seen at number 6. So currently, if we're looking at it, we've got Utah in playoffs and Portland just barely dropping out, probably. They might contend for a wild card spot, but with 7 teams tied at 15, and even a couple teams there behind them in that race, possibly make some upsets and get luck in their favor. You can't drop any series to anyone, so I think Portland basically need to win out to make playoffs here.
The thing that puts Portland at that number 10 is partially the competitiveness of their division, but also the team that they beat, who is just below them by a couple of points on our list. They beat Seattle, and it was a very hotly contested series, and even in our points, it's hotly contested, but Portland just barely edges them out, just like they did in that series. And although they're third in their division and they're not even in a wild card spot right now, I mean, we have them over teams that even have division leads like New York in the Eastern Conference, and I think that says a lot to what we see in Portland right now. They're hard to beat, and even when you do beat them, it's you're probably not doing it in the way you want, except for Utah. I think Utah did get that sweep on them earlier in the season on stream, and hey, look where Utah is. They're up at number 6.
Yeah, we'll see if Utah can do it again in the next couple weeks without Skippy, who ranked out. But as of now, we have it projected with Utah at number 6, probably beating our number 10. So as far as power goes, that wraps up our rankings list for tonight, and we're gonna go ahead and move on into an intermission before the Ramen Bowl Fuse show starts. So we will be back with that.
Push.
First, I didn't think that I was cut enough to bleed. Then I saw my secrets getting swallowed by the sea. Through a telescope, I saw a diamond glow. How you brought me home, I guess I'll never know. With God as my witness, never had it so good. Jumping into love, fires that's a dry wood. Started off as nothing, now it's gold, and it's all on you. With God as my witness, never had it so good. Jumping into love, fires that's a dry wood. Started off as nothing, now it's gold, and it's all on you. Then see a dark road driving up the hill. Looking at the girl, hand barely on the wheel. Got nowhere to go, but we can take it slow. How you brought me home, I guess I'll never know.
And overall, I had no problems with their defense. I think that they just really struggled to put any offensive pressure onto the opposition. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
just quick interesting stats on this series. Dallas scored 12 goals to Vegas's 2.
yeah,
And 10 of Dallas's goals were assisted, by the way.
Oof.
yeah, I think that. I mean, you can when you watch the game. I mean, you could tell it was not really a contest. I mean, Dallas had full control of the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
So
This is really unfortunate for Las Vegas, though. They really needed those 3 points to put themselves tied with Kansas City for the final wild card spot. Because
yeah,
at this point, I don't think any of us or very many people are doubting that Seattle's a lock on for the fifth seed going into the playoffs.
yeah. Seattle just rocketed up there, and Dallas were looking, or not Dallas, I should say, Las Vegas were looking really good coming up into the series. I thought, they got a solid win over Mexico. They were looking pretty hot, but I guess they had to play for compliance in the series, so it bit them in the end.
Yeah, at bare minimum, they should have aimed for at least game 5 or take a game or two just in case if it comes down to tiebreakers.
Yeah. All right, well, I think I'm going to move on to the next game. We get Utah versus New Orleans, and all I'm going to say about this one is how promising does this new New Orleans team look?
They look pretty damn good.
I mean, they were all close games from what I remember, so, I mean, I was really impressed with Other Ninja, and, well, the rest of the squad as well. I mean, they seemed to play like a real unit, which is surprising considering the fact that they had barely any time to prepare.
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised with New Orleans. I thought Utah was just going to come out and smack them in the mouth, but New Orleans, put up actually a pretty good fight, and in the end, took a game off of Utah.
Yeah,
I say they even force a game 5 if Calcify just doesn't pop off on the offensive side of the field.
That's
Right.
true. Yeah, I feel like Perma didn't even do Perma things. I mean, Calcify was really the catalyst for that team. Well spot on with that analysis. So
Yeah.
I do think. Sorry. I do think that even though New Orleans looked really good, I think this does. I mean, credit is due for Utah because they played a lower lineup. No Riker, no Juke or Jakob. So, and they looked. I mean, they looked a little rattled at times, but they still looked really solid with that kind of roster. So, credit to them.
That's actually where I was going to next. I was going to say lineups for Utah was Perma, Calcify, and Park versus on New Orleans side Cruncho, Susaki, and Other Ninja. So I think salary-wise, that's pretty dang spot on.
Did you say Suwasaki?
Susaki.
Isn't Sasuke?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's Sasuke.
I'm sorry.
But that's
Susaki.
I just glossed over it. That's my bad.
clearly not an anime, man. Come on, Fuse.
I definitely not. But some interesting stats about this one actually were Utah only had 2 more goals than New Orleans, and they each had 7 assists. However, the shots is where the difference from. Utah had 40 shots, and New Orleans had 26.
Oof.
Yeah, I feel like whenever Perma's on the field, he does a really good job of using the space that's given to him, creating chances, and more importantly, just not giving the ball to the opponents. I mean, and as a result, you really have the sort of play style where you really suffocate the opposition, and it just allows for your teammates to just pepper them repeatedly. I mean, I feel like Calcify, he scored the majority of the goals and came in clutch, when it came to shooting on net. But I feel like he wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for Perma. So.
And in the background, we got ourselves a rascal back.
Do we now?
I would have been here earlier, but I wanted to pet my dog, so.
Better late than never, right? 20 minutes.
I guess that's an acceptable excuse.
I mean, petting a dog, I'll accept that. Honestly, we support animal love out here.
So, Rascal, any words for this for the Utah versus New Orleans match?
I didn't really pay attention to it, so I can't.
Well, that's that.
Alrighty then.
I mean,
I suppose we'll move on then. That sounds fair enough to me.
I had a game, so.
Oh, that's true. You did.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
okay,
true. You were scrimming
Okay.
and whatnot before your game. You're right.
Right. Okay, well, I think we'll just move on then. not much else to be said about that series. Portland versus Mexico City. What do you guys think of this one?
It's hard to watch, bro.
I'm gonna defer to you guys because I didn't actually get a chance to watch this one.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, I wasn't saying
Yeah.
Rascal. Yeah, okay. So 2 white guys were busy. That's,
Hey,
No
it
big deal.
happens. And I watched this, but I tried not to.
Thank you for the Snapchat Fuse.
Yeah, I mean, Mexico, I mean, they played a pretty, a weaker roster with Gazelle, wasn't it?
Ruck and Mahulis, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Rook and Mahulis. I think Mahulis actually makes for, if Mexico did make playoffs, or if they do make playoffs, I'm not sure if they're out yet.
They're not.
Nah, they're close. They can still make it, but it's a little bit of a tougher road now.
Well, if they do, I would make a strong argument for Mahulis being on that playoff roster. I think he's quite solid as a 170. So,
Same.
there's a lot of questions around that roster. So Mahulis, Rook, and Gazelle, they didn't really look like they played as a team per se. I think Gazelle was just trying to cover all of the gaps. And they scraped by a win here. Could have been a 3-1. Kind of hurts them that they didn't get a 3-1. Because they're desperately trying to make that climb. And Portland just looked kind of. What was the line for Portland? I forgot.
Portland was.
Portland had Psychic Coconut, S China, and Hajors.
Right, so no Boston and no Devon.
Yeah.
So I mean, sort of. I think sort of a mid roster for Portland. Towards the lower side probably. So I think if I had to guess, I mean, I think I predicted Mexico to take this. It was a little closer than I thought it was though.
Yeah. I mean, but even then, S China has moved up for them in salary. Hajors has always been there as a second man.
But George is very
I mean,
good.
it feels like they had 2 of their top 3, to be fair, against Gazelle in the bottom 2.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we just haven't seen enough from Portland. I feel like, they have. I mean, at the start of the roster, they looked quite promising with Boston coming back and captaining this team, and they show bits and pieces of promise, but they just can't get over the hill. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like they're close.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that they're in the West. Everyone in the West is competitive right now. I
It's
mean,
true.
just going down from the final wildcard spot down to 12th, you're only looking at 4 points of a difference.
Right. Yeah. Well.
Now we have to talk about our favorite series.
And we have to move on to these series of that night. Maui versus Phoenix. This is just. I mean, you got Fuse and Rascal in here. What do you guys think of that series?
I choked. That's what happened.
All
I
right,
respect
I'm
it.
writing
I
this down
respect
on
it.
paper. Fuse may or may not choke during stream.
Okay, so we look at the series and Fuse through. Okay, on to the next series.
That's
I
fine.
mean,
Rascal can't play third man.
Maui looked shaky at the beginning, I think. But I think you can't take it away from Phoenix. I feel like they played a really strong game in the first 2 matches. First 2 games of the series, I should say. Silk and Gumby looked really clean together. And Fuse, you played well during those first 2 games as well.
Yeah, I think what happened was I started to fall off when I just randomly got kicked from the game. So
Not to mention in game 1, wasn't Gumby disconnected, and then you had to.
Yeah, no, he like accidentally alt tabbed or something. And he was just kind of chilling there.
Biggest series of your life. Throwing top roster versus top roster. Alt tabs.
Oh,
Okay,
man.
well, not to mention though, Silk was like coughing up blood the entire series, and so we were joking with him the entire time he had a coronavirus.
In before he comes back with the results.
Oh man.
Here in Phoenix, we
I just
joke
imagine
about world problems.
you guys are up by 1. Gumby's like, "Oh, I'm gonna tab out. I gotta open my Spotify, put some tracks on." It's like it's not like something Gumby would do. Oh
Yeah,
man.
but further insight. How did the series go? Come on, you guys are both over there squaring off.
Come on, Rascal. I need something from you here.
Unless
you want to tell me that you had a game.
I mean,
that what?
all
Is that
I'm gonna say
Oh,
is
yeah. I didn't pay attention to the game either.
you were playing. How can you not? Okay, whatever. All I'm gonna say is potential conference championship preview? Question mark? There you go. That's what I'm saying.
If you guys could both make it,
It depends on the bracket, I think. Like if one of us makes.
no, I just feel like you guys would both choke in playoffs and both get knocked
Yeah, probably.
out.
Rascal's gonna own goal, and I'm just gonna miss a ball entirely.
Yeah, I mean West is absolutely stacked with Phoenix, Maui, Utah. I mean,
Nah, dude, the West is gonna be fun to watch.
It is
Problem
fun to
is, like I
watch.
said before, they all choke.
it's almost not fair that only one of them can make it to the finals.
That's
Yeah,
how it was last season.
Yeah, it was.
and then Maui still didn't get to the finals.
I don't
What?
want to talk about it.
Low-key justified. You just said Maui, Phoenix, and Utah. You're forgetting about Seattle. They can make some noise.
That's the
Oh.
team I got going to the finals.
Really?
Yup.
Seattle finals. That's
I mean, shoot. Tell
What a
me who
comeback.
else would go.
do you
Tell
mean?
me who else.
Who else would
Utah,
make it?
they've choked. Phoenix chokes. Maui chokes.
No. Phoenix doesn't. Actually, no, I can't say that. I didn't play in the last season.
okay then.
San
Isn't
Antonio-
your team known for not making it past second round?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay. So what happens with us is we make the second round via like second seed, right? And then we just don't make it past that. But that's gonna change this season. I'm telling you, we're gonna make it to conference finals and then choke.
The problem is that Phoenix needs Fuse's support during the stream when they're playing, but dude just went to the gym to pump iron. Nowhere to be found.
Rascal's
I'm
gonna show up late to his game petting his dog.
For real. It's like, sorry guys, we got a schedule to make. Doggo.
Dog.
I mean,
And before we get our RB player just named Doggo.
true.
We do have one named Doggo.
We definitely do. The 1%.
Who?
1% Doggo?
Hey, he played in New York last season.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is he on a team now?
No.
Oh.
Well, I thought you were knowledgeable in these things.
I just pay attention to the people on rosters.
Okay, toxic. All right.
I mean, dude, there's like
I'd say
over a
we move
couple
on.
hundred people.
I say we move on.
Okay. I mean, well, to wrap it up, I mean, because we didn't really talk about much of the series at all.
We
Uh,
disagree.
Phoenix-
What do you mean?
Phoenix was really strong. Maui looked even stronger towards the end. I think that Maui is one of the favorites to make finals and to win the whole thing. But then again, I can also see Phoenix coming back for blood. So it's really hard to say. But it was wildly entertaining. Definitely made for the best game of the night. So
Some would argue only. I mean, what? I didn't say anything.
okay, all right. Well, anyways, when we move on, no thank you, Fuse. Montreal versus Miami. This is an interesting lineup. Well, interesting series, considering the fact that both these teams looked quite strong. I know, Fuse, you in particular really like
What was
Montreal.
my dog barking at?
I do actually like Montreal's roster, although who played in this one wasn't quite their top roster. They had Jax, OG Mysteries, and Divine. I actually have yet to see Divine play. But
What's the
as
top?
for Miami's roster, they had Vlex, It's Tanner, and Sid.
Yeah,
So I think their top roster.
Tanner and Sid both 180s. Flex, I think, is a.
Wait,
Is
what?
he 170 Flex? Is that correct?
Vlex is a 170, yes.
So a very strong roster for Miami. Then again,
Wait,
any
Tanner's
roster for
180?
Miami is a strong
Yeah,
roster.
Tanner hit 180.
Yeah.
Okay.
Miami looks pretty deadly. Although I must say against that Montreal roster without Cash, 3-2. It's not bad for Montreal. I think they put a good showing in.
Yeah, they've taken some really good like contention teams to Game 5, or they just plain out beat them. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if Montreal can, I haven't seen their top roster, but if their top roster plays well together, they could be kind of like the San Diego team of the East, or not San Diego team, Seattle team of the East.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
make a splash in the playoffs.
well, I mean, you're going to be able to see a stat line for their top rosters. We have to play them tomorrow. So
Oh well, you should
Yeah.
do it like that.
I mean, we
I have to
win
find
and we're
something.
in.
But yeah, I mean, obviously Jax is the star man for Montreal and Sid for Miami. Both of them doing quite well, I think. I mean, Cash plays. I think they take that series. So
You have
good
to
showing for
assume that
Montreal.
at least, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I'm going to move on to the next one. New England versus Baltimore. Battle between the two bottom teams of their divisions.
Woo!
Well, you want to break up the party crackers or the party poppers? Come on,
I
man.
mean, anytime I see anyone in single digit points in the league, I want the best for them. And it was a
Oh.
win-win here.
You can only pick one. Yeah. Game 5, 3-2 to New England. What were the lineups, Hughes?
For New England, we had Funt, Waxy, I think is how you pronounce it, and G Human. And for Baltimore, we had Leveled, Clean Algebra Cow, and what I can only assume is an NCS player in Who.
Not bad considering the lineup for Baltimore.
Yes.
Especially
That's
because,
very good. They're like the perfect little training facility for NCS players. They constantly have to play in their RB games. They're a developmental team. They're doing amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's not far from the truth. Yeah, I mean, honestly, with those kind of lineups, I would have predicted a 3-0 or a 3-1 for New England. I think once again they just look a little tame. You know, I mean, can't offer a whole lot. Even with G Human on the lineup, who I think is their best player.
Oh, by far.
Yeah. G Human's definitely their best player.
So, Baltimore. I mean, I guess they're just they're playing NCS players. Not a whole lot of people are available. But it's a good result for New England, I think. So, not much else to be said about that.
If anything, this was the best case scenario because New England gets 2 points and they're finally over, and they're almost over into double digits, and Baltimore gets the 1, and that puts them into double digits. I'm so happy. Everyone gets points.
Except for
Is it-
Santa Fe. I mean,
Ouch! Oh my goodness!
Stop.
Didn't have to go there,
That'd be good.
Fuse. My lord. Well, try to move on to Maui again. Maui and Kansas City.
This game didn't exist.
Yeah, can we just put this one away? Forget about it. I mean, Stealth scored what, 20 goals
yeah.
this series in 3 games.
Yeah,
Um,
like that's fair. That's cool.
I mean, I guess kind of crazy from Stealth, but I mean, we all know what he's capable of. And I think the lineups for Kansas City were quite low as well. No bids.
You know what the best part about this series is? It's
What's
not the first time Stealth gets double digit goals in a series.
No, but I do believe that 20 goals is currently the record for Ramen Bowl goals in a series.
I'm rewriting that record book and be like, nah, no.
So you're going to score 21 against Montreal?
All right, 21
No,
here.
I
come.
will.
Ooh, maybe you should
If
both
you hit my
score 21.
passes, yes.
Am I ever in position for your passes?
No, you're probably at the back left for
I'll
background
do it.
boost.
I'll do it just a spite.
Okay.
Hey, man, boost is important.
Well,
Okay.
hey, since you said something about this earlier, I have to read out some stats and
Alright.
some lineups. So Kansas City did play Zaire, Zynga, and Smiles. So there's
Nice.
definitely no bits.
Yeah.
And Maui played their top in Stealth, Choksy, and Rascal. The goal difference here was 32-3.
Oh my lord.
The shot differential, right? Is that what you said?
Okay, the goals were 32-3, and the
Oh, gosh.
shots were 50-14.
I'm back.
I don't know which stat. I don't. Yeah, that's
Okay,
just
then
not
how
good.
about this? 23 of Maui's 32 goals were assisted.
It's pretty good.
Which are just missed shots at that point, right?
Obviously, they don't
I'd
pass.
have to assume so.
One of
I mean-
KCC's goals was purposely own goal by Choksy. Take that out.
All right, back to being
nice flex rascal, as if it couldn't get worse.
nice. Just confirming that Maui is toxic.
True.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to just blow up the ego a bit more, then I guess that works.
In that case, not impressive that Stealth only had 20 goals done.
True.
Yeah, Smiles did DC in Game 3, and then they just sort of collapsed after that, and they just tried to play it out. But it was basically a 2v3 at that point. So
It wasn't gonna help much.
I mean, yeah, but it gave you 15 goals in the game. So there's
Yeah.
that. So I mean, overall, what did you make of the series, Rascal? Was it challenging at all, or was it just sort of a
Rascal
clean-
didn't play.
That's kind of a rhetorical question. Was it challenging at all?
Well,
He says, "Don't insult me."
I'm trying to.
No, it's not. I'm just like
What's
the
the
stat
ego
line.
on this man?
Seriously.
It's not.
Can't stop.
That's a dumb question.
It's not a good look for you, Rascal.
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying
you
it's a
can-
dumb question.
You can call it a dumb question. I'm just trying to make small talk here. You're not gonna be hostile.
So aggressive.
Okay, we'll move on from that series then. Maui 3-0's Kansas City. So, obviously
Yay.
good performance. Now, Ottawa, Carolina. This is an interesting series,
Team with the good colors.
right? Some of the best.
Can't confirm. Rascal loves Carolina's colors.
So
I do.
lineups for these for the series was it was me, Whale, and Mitch against Silhouette, Toon, and Cully. Overall, pretty close games. I mean, I think each of them could have gone either way. So no,
No.
okay.
Oh, look at the ego of this man. Oh my god.
That's different. I am
Oh.
confident I would not have allowed it.
Rascal, if there's any person who couldn't talk right now, it'd be you. I want you to
No.
know that. Oh, anyways,
You see, even Mitch in chat, we won that 100%. You see? The
Well, I'm not-
confidence.
I'm not trying to give them credit because I think they played pretty well.
No, they
Carolina-
did.
Carolina, they demoed quite a bit. They're quite
No,
a
they only
demo heavy
demoed you.
team. Only me. Yeah, they only went after me. And boy, did I feel it. Yeah, I couldn't walk after that series. So long story short, just we got demoed a lot. Couldn't really build up any attacking opportunities, only counterattacks. So close series. Credit to Carolina, they played well. But I'm happy to get the 3-0. Not much else to be said about that series.
I wish Sean was playing though.
True, I do wish Sean was playing. I mean, because originally I heard that Silhouette wasn't playing and Sean was, and then they flipped. So,
Honestly, they were just pulling the double bluff on us.
of course, just just pull the rug out from under us, basically. Yeah. But no, it was definitely an entertaining series. The scoreline didn't show it. I don't. So, Mitch was very good. There you go, Mitch. Are you happy? I'm glad-
Mitch good.
There you go. There you go. Mitch played very well. He did. Okay. Should we move on?
I think is Fuse here? Is he dead?
He said there's just turbines.
Oh, Fuse did have to go, yeah. Well, we'll move on to
I
Philly
see.
versus Washington. Philly kind of a dark horse, to be honest. I mean, they never really looked that good, but you know they actually. I mean, they're still fighting. And Washington after the rebuild looks pretty good as well. I think a little bit better, which is why they got the win here. But what do you guys think of this?
Rip Boogie. I mean, what? I'm back.
Wow, talk about good timing.
What timing? Let's see. Against Washington, let's see. Philly fielded. No, sorry. Washington fielded Black, Gray Bear, and Cough Bro.
No wreck.
No wreck, yeah. Very
Odd.
bold move there, Cotton. Very bold.
Nice.
And then
then-
Billy had Yeezy, Nas, and Class A.
Okay, so no LS from Philly's side and no wreck from Washington. Kind of surprising me because I feel like with Washington's compliance, they can play wreck as much as they want to.
Yeah.
So kind of questionable, but they got the win. I'm not sure if
Wait, what's the
Washington's still fighting for playoffs.
I think they are.
They still technically have a
they're-
chance.
Yeah, I
They're
think
pretty
too
far.
out though.
Yeah, they're pretty far. I don't think
Yeah.
they're gonna make it.
They're
They
8
would have to
points
win
out.
all their series, and then everyone from 6 to 9 would have to lose every series.
Like they
It's
couldn't
not
quite.
happening.
They couldn't quite pull off a Seattle.
No, Seattle started like a week earlier. That's why.
Now Seattle's like what? They're 10-1 now in their last.
Yeah, they're 10-1. They're
Last
bopping
few-
kids.
Yeah,
Ooh.
they started this comeback a long time ago.
And if you guys are watching, give us a Utah and Seattle bootleg stream, please. Thank you.
Oh yeah,
Is that
please.
happening now?
No, it's not happening now. But when it
Okay,
does
I was
happen,
about to
Is it
say,
this week?
like, what
Is
are
it
we
the
doing?
weekend?
probably. Just saying.
Oh,
Is it this week's games?
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
oh, and what is it? Alex has just told us that Philly just lost to Buffalo 3-0.
Oh,
All right, Philly out of the playoffs.
Philly out of playoffs. So yeah, I mean this game didn't really mean much then for both teams. overall. Both out of
yeah.
playoffs. Both just sort of bragging rights, I suppose. Not much else to be said. Decent win for Washington. Unfortunate for Philly.
They play Sunday at 10 EST.
Nice. Okay, cool. Is that a stream? Or no, as you said, it was bootleg.
That's why I want it to be bootleg.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, someone get that bootlegged.
Okay, the next series then?
I offer up my services to boot like that.
Ooh. Interesting. Make it happen.
People call fuses, people. Come on, people.
Come on,
Call
people.
my agent.
Well, speaking of Fuse, you want to fill us in on this series, Phoenix versus San Diego?
Oh, okay. So this was an interesting one because it was supposed to be at what time was it? Like 11 p.m. EST, right? But we didn't finish the stream game until like
11:30.
yeah 11:30.
Maybe if you guys
So-
just would have slept.
Yeah, so Blake wasn't on at that point, so I had to pull up an NCS player for compliance purposes. And well, as you can see, it worked.
San Diego let me down.
Very unfortunate. Do you know what the lineup score for this series? Obviously,
It was Blade, Griffin, and Birch.
That's a pretty
versus-
strong lineup.
Yeah, versus Gumby, Silk, and Zork from the NCS team.
It's gonna be in Silk though. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
that's where
Well,
it all lies.
that's like the only way I'd play an NCS player.
Right. Well, pretty dominant performance from Phoenix. That's why they're a lot farther up in the power rankings, as you guys will see soon. So, not really surprising, I suppose, especially after the game against Maui. Phoenix looking strong. Okay, good talk, guys. On that note, I
Yes.
suppose we'll move on. Detroit versus Nashville, 3-2 to Nashville. Detroit looking more and more uncertain of playoffs.
Oh, they were going to be sketchy regardless. Their compliance is awful.
Yeah, I've been saying this for a few weeks. They've played that one roster that actually won them like 4 or 5 games in a row or something, and then since then they've had to play, I guess, weaker rosters, if you would call
Literally
it that.
everyone else.
Yeah, everyone else, and it just hasn't been working out so well for them. And you can see that with their loss to Nashville here, who's been on a downturn themselves because of compliance.
Yeah, they are still fighting, though. I mean, they're only 1 point behind Carolina right now
Yeah,
for that 6th
Nashville's
spot.
still very much in the contenders for.
I mean, if you were to ask me, I think Carolina's far a fair amount better than Nashville based off of recent performances. Well, Carolina's been on a downturn as well, but I think they're
Yeah,
top.
we didn't help.
Top. We did not help. That is true. Yeah, I mean, if it was Detroit's top lineup, I think they'd take this a 3-0 or 3-1. But obviously, forced to play for compliance, and you pay for it. So
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they played like ABD, that like ABD lineup, like I want to say like 4 or 5 times in a row somewhere in the middle of the season, and it really screwed with their compliance.
right.
And now they're here forced to play bottom 3
Yeah.
most of the times with like a combination of Chris with a K, and they're just gonna be dropping series left and right, which is not what you want to do.
These are actually some interesting rosters. For Detroit, they had Retroid, Popster, and Skippy.
Yeah, bottom
And
3.
for Nashville, they had Fish Rules, Krabasaur, and Yor.
Pretty bad for Nashville. Then. They look shaky.
Yeah, that's not a good result for Nashville, if you ask me. But it still put them a lot closer to playoffs. I mean,
Yeah,
eh,
they still have a shot at playoffs, but if they make playoffs, they're limping in, and I don't want to be that 6th seed like Nashville facing anyone else.
yeah. Well, I mean, even in this series here, like you were just saying, they're limping in. They actually scored less goals than Detroit did
Oh my.
by 3. It wasn't just like 1 less goal.
So that means Detroit blew them out in the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely uncertain then for Nashville. I mean, I can't put them that high in the power rankings at all, even for a win. So that then. Well, it's still a good win though for them. They're still in the fight, whether they're limping or not. Moving on to a far more interesting series, I think. New York against Cleveland. Cleveland taking this 3-2.
Woo!
Go Cleveland, I guess. Yeah.
Go Cleveland.
New York looking more and more suspicious. I'm not sure what the lineups were, but if they were
It was
I'm
a
pretty sure it
pretty
was
bad
Deluxe
lineup
bottom 2.
bad for New York, then okay.
versus 2 180s and a 155 on Cleveland.
In that case, I'm not as surprising. then.
Cleveland should have won. Yes.
Okay, well,
I think what is it? These closing weeks are gonna be the weeks where if New York's gonna falter, basically, it's gonna because they have to get compliance in.
Yeah, they don't care about wins at this point. They're just getting compliance just because.
I mean, they've already taken top seed of the East, so
Yeah, they don't need to do anything
Incorrect.
else. They've
If
taken it.
I
if
suppose
if New York's loses out and we win out, we take top seed.
They're not gonna lose out.
could
Well,
you imagine?
Well, they already gone to from chat. Alex over here being the homie. They went to Game 5 with Nev.
Yes.
Lineup of that one wasn't so good either.
I'm
was-
just saying, if they keep throwing lineups like that, they might throw the last two and we're in.
No.
Hey, I gotta have faith.
Let's see.
It's still mathematically possible, but is it going to happen?
Alex,
it's not.
even with the 2 points, we could tie them at 40.
Yeah, but
New
they
York
have a better
can play
win
top
percentage.
roster for the rest of the season. They're
All
fine.
right, DDoSing them all. I mean, what?
Wait.
Hmm?
Okay, you didn't hear that.
Yeah, I didn't say anything. Yeah. Let's see. But this is what Cleveland now is. Actually, Cleveland has a chance.
Yeah, that was definitely an important win for Cleveland because now they're within 4 points. So that's still 2 series,
Yeah.
and a series in a game 5.
If I had to guess, though, I don't think Cleveland's making it. They just don't see him threatening enough.
Right,
yeah,
but who
I think,
does
I think
above
they're
them,
a
though?
little bit far behind.
It's true. Nashville, Atlanta. I think Atlanta's probably the most threatening out of those 4. And maybe Carolina's a little more.
The thing is, I don't think Carolina's going to throw series. Is the thing. Once they get their compliance out of the way, they're just going to secure their victories.
They still have to play their C player twice and their D player once.
Oh, that's
Well, Carolina also has that division though, because they got to play Miami still, Nashville, and Atlanta. So those are all some.
oh
pretty
my
all
god.
those
tough
That
options.
that division comes down to every game.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it really does. Because they're all still in the running for playoffs, except I think Miami has the division lead, but they still can't. They can drop it pretty easily. They're only 3
They're
points.
only 3 points behind above.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely be rooting for Carolina then. I want to see what they can pull off.
We got to do this for Dust. Dust, we got to get you in the playoffs.
Gotta do it for Dustin. You have
The great Dusty Neo.
to. All right, well, I suppose we'll move on then. I mean, let's see here. Denver and San Francisco. Both, I think, yeah, it's actually a good win for San Francisco.
No, it wasn't. I mean, I guess it was.
Bad roster for Denver.
I was gonna say,
They didn't
Denver
play
didn't play
Tokyo.
Tokyo.
Tokyo didn't play.
So
Neither
Denver didn't play.
Yeah.
Denver didn't play. God, we're awful. The whole team of Denver's going to come after us.
Yeah, I don't think San Francisco are going to be able to make a push in. I think they're done.
Nah, they're way too far
Oh,
behind.
and Seawalk didn't play? Look at that.
Yeah, it was
Second carry didn't play.
Stymie, Magic, and Repose played for Denver, and
Okay.
for San Francisco, it was Frenchie, Colts, and an NCS player in Tiara.
I'm just telling you. NCS players.
Yeah, I guess they're doing compliance. But Denver's looking close for playoffs as well. I mean, they're only 3 points away from Kansas
Yeah,
City.
they can make it.
I actually
Yeah.
like Denver. I hope they make it.
You like it because you almost single-handedly.
I didn't play.
You're right. Tokyo almost single-handedly beat the rest of Maui.
Yes.
Not gonna
I'm
lie,
on
I was
Tokyo's boat.
Also, San Francisco is out of playoffs because he lost a leg.
What was it,
Alright.
3-0?
It was 3-1.
3-1, yeah, well.
It'd be like that.
Rest in peace, Colts.
RIP.
RIP, for real. I mean, you hate to see it, don't you?
Wait, does this make also New Orleans out of playoffs, I think? Right.
New Orleans?
Yeah,
Well,
since they're going to be on the same point total.
Yeah, they're pretty. I mean, I have doubts. I don't think. Yeah.
Oh, they have to 3-0 their way out as well, all the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well-
basically as close to mathematically eliminated.
Seawalk, I would say your best chance of making it is obviously a win against Santa Fe and beating Kansas City. Kansas City will be your most important match because they're the one that's currently in the 6th spot.
Yeah,
Kansas City looking shaky.
Kansas City can't win a series, basically.
Yeah, but Bitts has to play though, doesn't he? He's gonna play.
Yep.
So it's
Yeah.
never gonna be easy.
Because they have taken losses when he is playing, correct?
Yes, they have.
They've
Alright.
not won without Bits.
That is
Okay.
true too.
So obviously he has to
Yeah.
play.
Because
he
the key
does.
to that last wildcard spot is make sure Kansas City doesn't play or doesn't win. Sorry.
Yeah, I believe in you guys, Ewok.
At that point, it's just between Tokyo and Bits to see who can do the best for their team.
Probably Tokyo.
Tokyo's looking really good, yeah.
Like
Bit-
he's the closest thing between the two of them as just a single man carry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bits is back a lot more.
Bit makes sure that his
don't
team
throw.
just win the series in general.
Mm-hmm.
He brings people together. While Tokyo's like, here, climb on this nice backpack. We're going to the promised land. They haven't lost when Bits and Smiles play together. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a first for everything.
Can we bootleg that series actually? That'd be fun to watch.
Honestly, we're just gonna compose a list of series that we want bootlegged, and we're just gonna throw it out to you guys. Hopefully, you guys can
Demand.
bootleg it for us.
We demand.
We're
Alright,
gonna
well,
be like, please.
I think we'll move on then. Denver looking pretty promising for playoffs then. Next series though, compared to a team that isn't looking too good for playoffs, Chicago taking a 3-0 loss against Atlanta.
Mm.
Chicago just looking flat once again. I don't know who they played for this one in particular.
Okay, so lineups for Chicago was Zayan, Sir Dangerous, and Plethros versus Atlanta, who had TKD, Demo, and Make-A-Wish. So I think their top lineup.
Yeah.
Honestly, any lineup with TKD is top lineup. What do you mean?
KD Pog.
My man's growing.
Yeah, he's having a ridiculous season so far.
He is for himself, like 32 goals with 32 assists. It's pretty.
It's really impressive considering the fact that everyone had basically written off Atlanta after Comp left, and they're still making that push. They're really trying. It's impressive.
Mr. Lovett took Dangerous spot, so is an NCS player, Bentley.
Oh,
Perhaps.
Okay.
dude, it's just the week of NCS players showing up and clutching out.
Yeah. Well,
Did he clutch out though?
I was gonna say it's a
Nah, you got swept.
well. What was
I'm just
that?
saying, dude.
Clutch out.
The amount of times NCS players this whole season for RB have jumped in and either, won or at least played well in their own regard, it's kind of, it's on the high end of the spectrum here.
Levette ranked
Do you know
out.
if
Yeah,
he's
I do
second?
recognize Levette. I remember he was quite good.
Wait, oh, he ranked out, so I'm guessing he. I guess they put him in before the transaction came through, so he was able to play the series.
But I mean, wouldn't matter. I mean, what are you gonna? I mean, they still lost 3.
Yeah, and in Chicago's case, I mean, they've just had a rough season.
You just imagine Chicago goes into Mod Mill, types in, yeah, we played a player who already ranked out. Can we redo this series, please? Do you imagine?
I think they were already eliminated before the series.
Oh, they
Yeah,
definitely were.
They
Yeah,
were eliminated last
they-
week.
yeah.
Well, I'm hoping to see more from them though on stream on Sunday. I'm hoping they can actually, put out a decent performance. All right, well, let's move on to the next series. Buffalo 3-1 against Pittsburgh.
Buffalo's alive.
Buffalo's coming back. They're roaring back.
Yeah.
Rawr.
This
still-
was actually a solid result for Buffalo because that still kept them in the playoff conversation with that 3-1 over Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh is a pretty solid team too. And for lineups, Buffalo actually came out with Danger Taco, Goat, and Icy versus Pittsburgh, Courtney, Grace, and Wolf.
Good team from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty solid win. I'm not
Solid
gonna lie.
victory for Buffalo.
Yeah, and they're not. I mean, it's not impossible for them to make playoffs either.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, the ones above them, Detroit's gonna lose. Cleveland will probably hang. Atlanta, Nashville, and Carolina are gonna be trading losses and wins against each other. There's a chance.
I'll tell you what, it's a good thing that Pittsburgh had gotten such a long string of wins in the beginning of the season because if they didn't, they'd be in a rough spot right now. Their form has not looked quite very good within the last couple weeks.
Yeah, they only scored 3 goals versus Buffalo in that series versus Buffalo's 10. So they need to find some offense somewhere.
And they really need to pick up their form come playoff time, otherwise they're going to have a swift exit.
Buffalo needs to play their E player twice and their C and D player once.
Oh no.
It's gonna be very hard for them to actually squeeze in there.
They are in an easy division though, so that could help.
Well,
Yeah.
that's true. They are playing there. They could do compliance against New England.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If they sneak a win off New York, I think it's possible.
New
Like
York's gonna
Rascal said,
mean.
they don't care for wins at the moment, so you never know.
Mhm.
New York should just throw so that they may somehow get Buffalo in round 2.
Mhm.
They should try to make the playoffs how they want by throwing against certain teams.
Oh yeah. Let's rig the system.
All right. Well, I suppose. I mean, really good win for Buffalo. Might be too little, too late. We'll have to find out. I'll be rooting for them though, especially Danger. Danger Taco's got man.
Go
Get Danger to
Tacos.
the playoffs. Let's get into the playoffs, man. All right. Well, final series of the list here. We're looking at Santa Fe versus Los Angeles. 3-1 to LA. So looking pretty
Ooh.
good.
I'm kind
I
of
am.
surprised Santa Fe didn't forfeit. I'm gonna be honest.
They played.
Yeah, that's the start. That's the start. They
That's a
had
start.
they did have 60% shot percentage. Point that out. 6 of 10.
Oh.
But as for lineups, though, for Santa Fe, they had Self-Plug, Nerve, and Servette versus Los Angeles' top lineup and Zarcia, Laser, and Goyo.
I mean, at this
So-
point, it was just practice for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really see any other result than a win and a full 3 points for LA. Just Santa Fe have been arguably the worst team this season.
I'm actually kind of surprised Santa Fe stole a game off of Los Angeles with those lineups.
Stats, man. What do you mean?
Alex says they won a game. That's nuts.
We gotta. Chat is very non-toxic. I love it.
Technically, Los Angeles is still in the playoffs because they're only in 19 points.
Yeah.
So
They just need to win 2 of their last 3 to have a chance.
they
Well,
just
they
won against
they just beat San Francisco, so they're
22.
getting
Right.
there.
22.
22. Oh.
They have
And
potential to
And
get
I
there.
am playing down against Los Angeles. I don't think it'll matter, but
They
like,
paying you
if they
to
somehow throw.
isn't they paying you to give them some points?
I will double your rate.
Well, yeah, good looking for Los Angeles.
We're gonna need a lot of bootleg streams and a lot of streamers
really,
here.
yeah.
This is
I suppose we're ready to look at the power rankings then.
absolutely.
All right,
Let's just take a look. Let's see how many people are upset with us.
that's right. Let's take a gander. All right.
Woo. Good old power rankings.
Oh,
Say nice things about SAR, or we riot.
Oh, Rascal, you done crying?
Sar's looking shaky. There you go.
Mm.
Star does look shaky. That is true.
Ah, Zach coming in with the hard facts. Seattle 3, SAR 1.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
Seattle are looking really good. They can contend with, I'd say, any team right
Yeah.
now. Not surprising though. We got Utah at first. They still look really good. A couple of hiccups here and there, but they still definitely look like the best team in the league. Well, Rascal, I see Maui at 2, not 1. So
purely
Same.
off of record.
hey, man,
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't throw at the beginning. Hmm?
only a
You know
3-2
what?
against Phoenix. Come on, come on. What's going on here?
Loki, who knows what happens in 7 games?
Maui sus. 70.
Maui sus.
Maui sus. But yeah, Utah obviously looks really, really strong. Hopefully they can carry that into the playoffs, and if so, they might have a well. I'm not gonna say they'll have a smooth ride to the finals. It's
Yeah,
not even close. But
The one thing I have to say about Utah, though, is yes, they are doing really well and they've done consistently well over the season. I think a couple of teams, such as Maui, Phoenix, and Seattle, have caught up to them. And if it wasn't for their record, there may be a change up in this top 5 here.
Oh yeah. But the thing is, it's like they get the ugly wins. They get the
Yeah.
It's
Like,
like
They've just been the
any team
consistent
does
team all season.
exactly.
well, in the second we got Maui, who put off a really strong performance against Phoenix. on stream. It's really hard to. I mean, did you play against? Yeah, you had the 3-2 loss against Utah, right? Earlier.
Yeah, I
But
played
that
my
was
bottom
before the
lineup.
rebuild.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
me,
so-
Don, and Lou, which was a 150.
Right.
3
And
150s
Alex, no.
basically.
Hey man, they did their best.
That is true.
They did they did good.
Indeed.
Should have 3-1. Feels bad.
Yeah, but you played third, man.
You know, sometimes you have to.
Yeah. I mean, what more can we say? You went up against the good roster.
It was their top roster.
I mean, yeah. I mean, but I mean, Maui, Maui at 2. You can't be too upset. You guys started off a little slow due to a bunch of roster issues, and closing out strong.
Yes, sir. Also, yeah, well, did you read the ping?
Yeah, we're good. We're fine.
All right.
And then for number 3, we had the New York Insomnia.
I don't
That's
mean to
it.
correct you here, but they're actually tied for second in points. So
Mhm.
they both.
But
New
I
York
guess
and
the
have-
tiebreaker went for first place votes because of Rascal.
Well, no.
Well, I
New
didn't
York,
put
New
Maui
York
as
had
first.
more first place
New York
votes.
at first. Yeah. Technically, it should be New York second.
I don't know. That's.
All right,
is
we'll
the
just say
fun answer
joint
to that?
tied for second.
I
It's
Yeah,
all the
joint
same.
tied second.
It's all the same to us. New York. I mean, being second or first, honestly, that's all they know. They go to game 5s against teams they shouldn't, but it's perfectly fine. They're always throwing rosters that are weaker for compliance.
Yeah, my prediction for playoffs is either they pop off or they throw and get wrecked. That's
Yeah,
it. They don't play mediocre.
there is no in the middle.
Yeah, no. It's one or the other.
Man, Alex coming out with the hard facts. NY better than Maui and Utah.
Notice he didn't say Phoenix.
Who?
Huh?
It's because
Oh.
Phoenix isn't top 3.
Okay, how about this? He also didn't say Ottawa. There you go.
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
okay.
he-
we throw some series, man.
I mean, he also didn't say Detroit, but come on.
This is true.
No.
All right, we'll move on before we just turn this into us shit talking to each other.
I'd rather do. Wait, no.
What?
What?
And then at number 4, we have the Miami Cayman. Solid team.
If anyone from Miami is watching, can you please tell us who your top lineup is? Because we have no
Please.
idea.
Oh yeah, we have no clue.
We need to
I
know.
didn't have a clue Tanner got 180. I am still what?
We need to know.
Yeah, I need some answers. And actually, I know one of them. One of them has to be Pancake, right?
I would assume Blex. If you ask me.
Then again, I haven't seen much of them either. I didn't play
I have
against any
no
of them.
idea. None of us have any clue. Please help.
Yeah,
That's all
honestly, send us a detailed diagram of who does what.
Yeah, we need a five paragraph essay, MLA format.
Double spaced.
Double space.
Yeah, we need a double space. All right, but moving on. At number 5, we have the good old Phoenix Thunder, the Airplane Boys.
Heck yeah. We're back.
You're finally top 5.
Haven't been there since last season. But yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Back in my day.
Back in my day, I was the sub. I mean, what?
I was the sub.
True.
Those were happy days for Fuse.
No,
I
I'd
mean-
rather play. It's too stressful to sit and watch,
True.
Oh, it's awful. You don't even want to be by your computer.
honestly.
Hey, but I mean, you guys are finally starting to show some life in this season, you know?
Yes.
You guys are now playing top roster Silks, clearly the help that Gumby's needed for about 4 years. I think I could finally end the hashtag get Gumby help.
Now, who's the next
So,
one?
yeah, who's the next hashtag?
Probably hashtag get Neva team.
I'll let
Yeah.
you get
I
go.
could probably put Nev, comma, and then a list of other teams.
Actually, can we get Goraxgo help?
Oh yeah, no, hashtag yeah. Go Rocks, get some help.
Hopefully next next
I mean,
season.
well, we all got to see how the season closes out and stuff.
Yeah.
All right, at number 6 we got the Ottawa Savage. Honestly, don't even know how we've been ranked this high for this long.
Because you guys have been putting yourselves up there.
Whoa. I've only skewed the vote like twice. Slow down.
And just bigger when we put them lower than you guys do.
What do you mean? We only throw really random series that we shouldn't lose. Also, we love going to game 5 like 7 times. You know, if we win our game 5s, we look good, okay?
Jesus, you really have been to Game 5 7 times.
Do you think I'd lie about that?
It's not something you purposely lie about.
Yeah, that's not something I lie about. Like, ooh. I mean, I'm just saying we're 14-1 if we win our game 5s. Just saying.
Yeah.
Miami has been to game 5 7 times too. Yeah, but this is about me, Alex. Come on.
Well, I just realized I went to game 5 6 times.
Guys, about us. Come on.
Yeah, the difference between you and Miami though is Miami's won 5 of their Game 5s versus you 3.
Oh, Alex, with the hard facts. Honestly, I never knew this advanced statistic existed. I'm 15-0 if we win all of our series.
Yeah.
My lord, I've been mind blown. Alright, but moving on before we just completely get more sidetracked. At number 7, we have the San Antonio Revenge.
They've been on the downswing.
Yeah, Fuse, why are
Very
they on a
far.
downswing?
Oh,
Analyze.
well, I honestly think they've been looking a little shaky recently. I mean, personally, I haven't seen them play as like a top roster yet, but from what I hear, it not looking too good at the moment.
Alex, talk to us.
Tell us why? Why shaky?
Why are you shaking in your boots?
I actually don't feel like they've thrown top roster in a couple weeks though now.
This is true. Actually, I have no idea. Let me look.
I mean, at this point, what is it? They've basically locked up the 2nd seed, no?
No.
No, huh? That's still wide open.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's including one game this week that they won and put in
Yeah.
already.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Second seed can go to either
Fourth.
actually any 3 of us. San Antonio, Phoenix, or Maui.
We're all 1 point behind each other. Let's just say that.
Oh, I see
Well,
that. Yeah.
technically, Phoenix. So we're in the lead technically.
Yeah.
So if we win out 3-0 or 3-1, we get the 2nd seed. But
Okay.
if we win out,
Can someone tell me why Seattle, like last week, had an X for clinched playoffs and now they don't?
I
No
don't
idea.
actually know. Although I can tell you,
Oh.
last time San Antonio played their top roster, it was actually against Mexico City this week. So like the win that they had put in,
Oh,
they played
yeah.
top
Oh,
roster
okay.
and they 3-0'd them.
Jesus.
Although Mexico City's been looking even more shaky than San Antonio.
Shaky's just being nice. They've just been falling off a cliff.
Yes.
Free falling.
Yes. Free fall.
All right, now to our favorite team at number 8, Seattle Swarm.
Everyone
Love
likes
this
them.
team.
We're all rooting for you. That's all.
Honestly, I love them.
Unless
I feel like this
it's,
is the only team Fuse and Rascal would be okay losing to in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or maybe each other.
We don't want to play each other, but we'd rather play Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, from the bootleg streams I've watched with Rascal, and whenever I do get a chance to watch their series at all, they're good. They're fun to watch. They don't go for way too many demos, or they're not like one dimensional with just like passing or dribbling or whatever. They're just fun.
Mhm.
They play the game.
Yeah. Mav has actually improved a ton over the course of the season, and I know Zach has been playing pretty well when he plays. And the addition of Laugh a couple weeks ago was I think a really good one too, because I do believe that Laugh is better than his 165 salary, and he just works really well with Mav. So that
Mav, you
we're
may be
not
third
gonna
in
be-
demos, but I never see them. I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, I don't know how I'm up there for demos because I never go for demos.
It's probably just the whole someone doesn't get demoed a lot, and you get like on average like 2 or 3 demos a game or something, and like because you don't notice them, they just slip by.
League leaders. You know.
All right. Oh, best third in the league. Zach, it's crazy. I was watching one of the series with Rascal,
He
and I
called you
said
bad.
Zach looks like a great third man.
He did not.
Yeah, I did.
No.
Quit lying.
Rascal best third man. Changed my mind.
What do you
I am
mean?
not
He
a
lost
third
every
man.
game he played third man.
Yeah, I have to move up. I am shooter. McGav.
You're
need
back
to
to
be-
shooting.
I need to be
Crossbar
shooting.
back to being best friend. All right, we're moving on. Number 9, we got the Pittsburgh Phantoms. Also have been sliding down the board slowly.
Yeah, I mean the thing is with this, like the point total for the 8 and 9 here is quite a difference. Like Seattle has 67 points and Pittsburgh has 53, so there's a big disconnect between that. Right there.
Yeah.
Although, if Ottawa throws 2 series, Pittsburgh can easily get second in the conference.
This is what I come back to. Oh my goodness.
This is true.
So-
Eastern is all pretty close.
I mean, you're acting like we're gonna throw.
I don't know, man.
You have a
Please.
history of it.
Please no
We
flame.
do?
What?
We've gone to a lot of game 5s.
You've gone to a
Oh.
lot of game 5s.
So
And
now
thrown
you
a lot
don't
of
hear me
games.
talking about them.
Because we're
We
not
already talked
talking
about
about you. We're not talking about us. We're talking about you and how you like to throw games.
Okay, Rascal.
Okay, but on Pittsburgh's case,
On Pittsburgh, I think. Yeah, I don't know. They look
they
shaky,
can
but
wait. Can they fall out of? They don't clinch division, right? They can fall.
they are 5 points ahead. So
Yeah, Cleveland would have to win out, and Pittsburgh would have to lose at least 2.
I mean, there's a chance.
There's still a
I don't
chance
see
for
it
Cleveland to
happening.
take that division.
Because Pittsburgh has to play Baltimore.
Yeah,
But
but
Baltimore
who
has
knows?
2
If-
wins.
Yeah, if Go-Rock, honestly, if Go-Rock's leveled and Clean Adbrickout play, who knows what could happen because Go-Rock's
I
has
mean,
been playing.
okay, let's just say this. Say Pittsburgh beats Baltimore in game 5, they only go to 29 points. And if they lose to both Washington and Cleveland just needs to win out and they get the division.
Hmm.
I don't see it happening.
Yeah,
You just need to have belief and faith.
I'm rooting for Cleveland. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I think they're just too far behind.
Cleveland has to play their E player 2 more times.
That's why.
What do you mean? Best E player that I know.
He has a 170. Who knows?
At this point, whenever someone says E player, I just assume they're above 160 at this point.
True.
Right? Safe to assume now.
Not in every team, but yeah, for the most part.
It'd be like that. All right. And then closing out the top 10, we have the Montreal. What is it? The Montreal Stags.
Stags.
The Ontario Sags, you mean?
Ontario. Wait,
Hold
No.
on.
Montreal.
Yes,
Montreal.
sir.
Can we get a
What are you,
copyright?
dense?
All right, well, Fuse, since this happens to be your team, I guess.
My team. I didn't choose them as my team, but
Yeah,
I
man.
will definitely
you-
say some things about them. Like,
But you love this.
Go
You
on.
love these guys.
Take it away.
All right, Jax has been doing extremely well on offense. Like, I don't remember his stats last season, but
It's
it
not
took,
59
Also-
goals.
it took a huge bump. And Divine, I think, has been playing. How many series has he played so far?
No idea.
I'm not
couple.
super sure, but from what I hear, he's actually
A
pretty
handful.
good. The only question for me is cash. And I think that's a question for a lot of people looking at this roster. Will he be able to play that third man role well enough for Jackson Divine? I mean, somehow Jax seems to be doing both first and third at the same time. I don't know how that's possible, but
He's just rotating so fast that he's shooting and saving, bro.
This is true.
He bounces off the ball in offense and flies to defense.
Yeah. So I guess
Perfect.
my new question for them would be how consistent Cash can play at the playoffs when they're playing, like in Ottawa or Carolina or a team like that. Because
Yeah.
if Cash can play consistent enough for Jackson Devine to just pop off, is kind of the same situation with me, where he's got the two guys that are really good on offense and can clean up a lot on the defensive side. That's my question. It's just if Cash can play consistently enough for them.
Oh, Alex is right. We need Montreal in the playoffs to be the kryptonite for NY.
This is true. Make it happen.
If NY loses early, it'd be to Montreal.
Yeah, I can see that.
Montreal throw to the 6th seed, please, so you can play New York.
They're not getting any other seed, right? I think that's the
They're
one really up
fifth
for grabs.
currently. Carolina's right there, but Carolina has that tough division. Remember?
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, but
Yeah.
Montreal's gonna take an L to us tomorrow.
Well, I mean, even if they do, Carolina's liable to go to a couple game 5s.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you'd want us to beat Montreal in less than 4 games for
Yeah,
them to be the 6th seed.
that's how it should work.
Okay. You hear that? You hear that, Justify? We got to win tomorrow.
I think that's how it should work.
Boy, I
I
had
don't
no
think-
idea.
I don't
I
think
guess we win
Carolina's
now.
playoff stuff.
What, you're telling me that I don't throw? That's kind of that's on the playbook that you gave me.
Oh, did you accidentally hold it upside down?
No, I read it from right to left. I thought it was, damn, that was a manga, or manga,
Oh God.
Manga.
which is clearly why I don't read them because I don't even know how to fucking
Oh
pronounce them.
God. Someone cut us off. We're...
Oh. Hey man, I'm bringing some
Alright,
family-friendly comedy.
This is that's just fine.
I'm
Close
sure
this out.
everyone's just cringing.
Yeah, no, yeah, the chat's slowly dying.
That's all
Close this out.
Well-
Just take us home.
right. Well, those have been the power rankings and the previous matches. It was nice having all you guys around. I suppose that's it for now. See you guys on stream Saturday and Sunday, and following on Friday for the next UR Live.
Go
Have a good night, everyone.
And Monday.
Go Utah.
If you need something to brighten up your night. if you need something to brighten up your night, to make you feel alright. You know we got you.